Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. It means we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos, and plenty to do over the next couple of hours. Koki Riley been with the baseball squad all season long. He joins us in 15 minutes. Talk about what we saw in Omaha and certainly what we expect to see tonight at Alex Box Stadium for the celebration. Gates open at 7 and the show starts at about 8 o'clock from the box. So we'll chat with Koki about all of that. It's What If Wednesday. Welcome your feedback via Twitter at HuntPalmer88, certainly in the Bayou Ford chat. If you got some what ifs, throw those at us. I want to talk about the top 10 moments of this LSU baseball season. We'll do that in the second hour. So plenty to do. Let's start things the way we do every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
So we'll get to baseball here in 15 minutes. I want to take some time personally to talk a little bit about LSU's football recruiting weekend over the weekend, and really not so much about the folks that were here, more so about the folks that weren't. Because Bo Bentley was not on campus this past weekend. He was on campus the weekend prior. LSU rolled out the red carpet for him. Big four-star quarterback out of the state of Texas, and Garrett Nussmeier chatted with him, and they rolled out that red carpet, as I mentioned, and Bo Bentley decided to go to Oklahoma. That's apparently a school that he's grown up really admiring, a school that he's been a fan of, and that makes sense because, like, candidly, do we think Brent Venables is going to be there this time next year? I'd be pretty stunned if he's still there. But that's okay. That's a guy that decided to go play for a school he's loved since his childhood, and he's got a great opportunity to go in there and perhaps get some playing time as a backup and see if it works out there moving forward. And if it doesn't, then you reopen things. But LSU is not going to get Bo Bentley in this class. It doesn't appear. And so you look at LSU's quarterback situation, and we briefly chatted with Sonny Shipp about this yesterday, but it's like, okay, you got Garrett Nussmeier, who's going to be your quarterback, and that's a great spot to be in because he's as good a player as there is at the position in the country. But behind him, you've got Michael Van Buren and Colin Hurley, and that's really it. Juwan Johnson's going to come in there and do some package plays, but that's really it. And then you don't have a quarterback that's an incoming freshman this summer, and you don't have a quarterback in this class, and most of them have committed elsewhere. And to me, LSU needs to sign a high school quarterback in this class because you can sign a high school quarterback in this class that will come in next year and won't feel like they have to be on the field. And the reason I frame it that way is because if Nussmeier leaves, and if, this is an if, but it's a reasonable if, either Michael Van Buren or Colin Hurley decides to transfer out, you have one quarterback. One. And that's not enough. I'd like to have someone at least in the pipeline in addition to the fact that you've got to go get a transfer quarterback next year. Now, getting a transfer quarterback is very doable. Teams do it every year, and LSU certainly had a tremendous amount of success doing it. Generally, a transfer quarterback is going to come in with an anticipation of playing. Like Michael Van Buren was an amazing ad for LSU this past offseason because he's a proven quarterback in the SEC that didn't expect to play. And you can kind of put him in the boat with A.J. Swan, but I would suggest that Michael Van Buren is a more proven commodity than A.J. Swan, who, yes, he started at Vanderbilt. Was he an SEC level player? No. And that's why he's moved down a couple levels to Appalachian State. Michael Van Buren looks like an SEC player. He's a four-star quarterback coming out of the D.C. area and signed with Mississippi State and started pretty comfortably for a year. Now, it was a bad team, and he had some high points and some low points, but for LSU to get him to campus with an understanding that he wasn't going to be the starting quarterback, I felt like that was an amazing ad because that's a tough thing to do. Quarterbacks are not looking to transfer to sit. So you're going to have to massage that situation, like let's just play a hypothetical. Let's just do a hypothetical here. Nussmeier graduates. Van Buren is the backup this year. Colin Hurley looks at the situation and goes, me and Michael are about the same year. I'm going to go look elsewhere. Like just hypothetical. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I have no idea. But we're just working through a hypothetical. And you only have Michael Van Buren. Like, what are the odds you can go get a great quarterback who's going to come in to compete with a guy who started in the SEC in 2024 and it's now 2026 and he kind of expects to play? Like, are you going to be able to get somebody in there that's really good? If you've got an SEC starting quarterback from 2 years ago on your roster that kind of expects that job to be his, it's not a direct path to the field. And then if you can't get someone that's really good, that's definitely in front of Michael Van Buren, like, who are you going to add behind him to come sit on the bench as a transfer? Like, I just told you that I thought Van Buren was kind of like a unicorn in that way because you just don't get a lot of guys that transfer to sit. So the answer to that question is, we'll bring in a freshman who's okay with sitting and is very talented. And if he gets thrust in there, well, you got to deal with that in one way or another. But like, your numbers are not where they need to be. And I think that LSU put all their eggs in the Bryce Underwood basket, which I did not have a problem with. He's as good a player as there is in the country. You're probably not going to get a freshman to come compete with that. You got to go for that. And then you got railroaded by Oracle, and okay, here you are, but you got to adjust to that. And they needed to get a high school quarterback in this class, and I think they really thought Bentley was the guy, and it didn't work out. So now I find that your situation is fine for 2025. Like, you're okay for this year. 2026 is terrifying right now. And it's a year-to-year era of college athletics, but like, you need to get someone in this boat. So LSU's kind of scrambling a little bit, and Bryson Beaver is the name that has come to the forefront. He's a 4-star quarterback. He has got good size, about 6'2". He's got offers from solid programs like Oregon. It seems to be in the lead. Ole Miss is very interested. Alabama's got an offer in there. USC's got an offer in there. But LSU's late to the party here. Not that they haven't ever spoken to Bryson Beaver. That's not the case. But he's never visited. And you just ran through all your visit weekends, and he didn't have an offer. It didn't come. So now you have to sit through this 2-month dead period where you cannot have in-person contact. You can FaceTime, as we talked to Sonny yesterday. You can chat with guys on the phone. You can be in contact. You can't have face-to-face contact. You cannot go visit, and he can't come to you. So you now have to take the next 2 months where a lot of high school seniors, that their senior year is approaching, are committing before they start their seasons. And you have to make sure that Bryson Beaver doesn't commit to Oregon and doesn't commit to Ole Miss and holds out for you so that you can get him on campus during the season and try to add him into class as your quarterback. Now, I think that, to me, Joe Sloan's done a really good job of evaluating quarterbacks, developing quarterbacks, and generally getting quarterbacks to commit. But you missed on Underwood. I don't think that's anybody at LSU's fault at all. And you missed on Bentley. And if you don't get one in this class, then all of a sudden I have to look at this and go, wait a second, you got to get some high school quarterbacks sometime. You can't just have none. Like, you can't just have none. It's awesome that Nussmeier's here and developed. It's awesome that Jaden Daniels was a superstar. It's awesome that you got Colin Hurley here. It's awesome that you got Michael Van Buren here. It's awesome that you got Bryce Underwood committed. And all of that happened in a row, and that's all fantastic. But right now, you're teetering. Not going to affect you this fall. But there's got to be something on the back end of that. And if you're completely fine with Michael Van Buren being the starting quarterback in 2026, and you have no reason to believe that Colin Hurley wants to go anywhere else, and you feel like you can add one of these star freshmen next year, well, it's palatable, but I don't know how reasonable that is. So they've got to do something in this class, and I think Bryson Beaver is the guy that they've identified at this point. It's just a question of, can you hold him off, make sure that he doesn't jump in the boat somewhere else? And that's a tough thing to do. I'm very, very understanding of recruiting misses, more so than a lot of fans on the internet. You can't lock a kid in the trunk of the car and drive him to campus and shove him in a closet until school starts. Like, you can only just make your pitch. So if you lose this one guy, I can't get upset about that. You lose a second guy here or there as 2 or 3 years come by. Like, individual recruiting misses will never bother me because everybody's different. I do believe the coaches work hard. I do believe, but you can only make a pitch. But if you run up on 3 years where the pipeline dries out, then there's something that you got to look at and go, we got to change something. Like, we got to do something differently because it's the most important position on the field, and it's got to have the numbers and the talent to win, or else all the money that you're spending on the rest of this roster is for naught. Because if you can't put a championship-level quarterback back there, it doesn't matter. We've seen that at LSU. We know that. So I still trust Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan to manage that position because it's been managed excellently. And it will be managed excellently this year because I believe having Garrett Nussmeier as your starter is awesome. And I think having Michael Van Buren as your number 2 is very, very good based on what I saw last year. But that all fades away when you get to spring football in, 7-8 months? So we'll see. Hopefully they can make a push for Bryson Beaver. Transfer portal is always available to get that next guy. But you got to bridge the gap somehow from Garrett Nussmeier to this star-studded class for next signing period. We'll see if they can get that done. It's very, very important that LSU does that. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. We'll have What If Wednesday coming up in 15 minutes, so make sure you all get those into the Bayou Ford chat and hit me up on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. When we come back, we'll chat with Koki Riley about the national champion baseball team. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. It is storm season. Storm season is inevitable down here. There's one every year. You're well aware of that. Make sure your property policy reads correctly. If you're a business owner or if you're in charge of the insurance, whether that's a risk management or a CFO, whatever the case may be, if you just picked the property policy based on the premium, I get that. It's very important. The bottom line's a big deal. But the last thing you want to do is pay that money for your property and premium and then have a storm come through and have incorrect business interruption limits, have co-insurance penalties you got to deal with that you weren't aware of. These are things that need to be sorted through. And if your broker hasn't talked to you about them at renewal, let the experts of the Highland Insurance Group take a look at your premium. Let them look at your policy. Let them look at the fact that it's going to respond properly if a storm does hit, because it's inevitable that it will. Maybe not this year, maybe not the next year, maybe it is this year. But you got to be proactive about these things. And Jonathan Carbo and his team pride themselves on their expertise at placing insurance with the right market, with the right coverage, at the right premium. So if you want a second set of eyes for free, they'll look at your policy for free and audit it. Just give them a chance to make sure that everything's buttoned up so that when that storm rolls through, your business keeps cruising. It's the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is when you get back up when you fall.
Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Looking to get that pool of your dreams, that outdoor kitchen that you've always wanted in the backyard. Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you out with that. Contact my guy, Joey Blanchard, 225-252-7745. Again, 225-252-7745. That's Joey's cell phone directly. He owns the company and he can help you out with all of it. That's the best thing about working with Renaissance is that you can work with the owner start to finish on your new pool, on your outdoor kitchen. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools. Check them out online, builtbyrenaissance.com. Koki Riley with the Advocate, been with the LSU baseball team start to finish this year as they polish off the 8th national title in program history. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how we doing?
Doing pretty well back in Baton Rouge. How are you?
I'm doing quite well as well. It's good night's sleep in the home front bed last night for me. Hope the same for you. Look, I could go any number of ways talking about this, but at what point this year did you feel like, okay, this team might have what it takes?
I think the championship felt like a probability after the Arkansas win, the first Arkansas win.
Okay.
Because they just needed to beat them once in 2 games. They were going to be a pretty heavy favorite against UCLA or whoever came out of the other side of the bracket. But before that, it just always felt like something was going to get in their way to stop them from being the champions. There was just too much evidence that the offense was a little touch and go. There's a little too much evidence that their bullpen could blow up at any moment potentially. And it just never felt like they were always necessarily the best team. And I was obviously wrong about that, and they ended up winning the entire thing. And I think this championship is just so impressive on so many different levels from Jay Johnson's perspective, where you got a completely different team just 2 years later, and then you still lead them to the title. Completely different everything. It's just, as you know, it's just so impressive what they did here this year.
It is on a lot of different fronts, and I think the most important thing, it's one of the things that I wrote about after it was all done, was just how much they had to replace on the pitching staff last year, really almost everything, and that they did that incredibly well with the portal and the development of the guys they had in the program. How much credit do you give Nate Yeskie for what they did and accomplished this year?
I think you have to give him just a boatload of credit. I mean, I think being in year 2 with these guys, you think you're going to get like a big boost from that, right? Just year 2 in his system to bring back a lot of the same pitchers. That wasn't the case with this team. He didn't even get the benefit of getting Gavin Guidry back. Honestly, it was just Cade Anderson and DJ Primo for the most part, right? So, to basically have no innings coming back from last season, or not that many, and to still put together the pitching staff that he has and have 2 completely different top of the rotation aces. They've gone 2 years in a row now where their top 2 starters are as good, if not better, than everybody else's. And it's not like the same 2 guys that came back the next season. It was 2 completely different guys. So, again, like that combined with the improvement of the pitching depth this season, you have to give him credit. You just have to give him credit. You have to give credit to Jay Johnson as well for not just bringing in Nate Yeskie, but for also just recruiting these guys and, getting multiple guys out of the bullpen or throwing out 100. And they're not even like your top guys. So, or even like the development of freshmen like Cooper Williams just being absolutely huge against the Little Rock game, or just what Casey Evans did the entire season. It's pretty remarkable. Not every guy hit, but because it's impossible for that to happen. This is sports; things are hard. Obviously enough of a hit for this team to win the title, for the pitching to lead them along the way.
No doubt. Anderson and Ianson, to me, were the backbone of the entire team. Anderson was not a dominant arm much of last year unless he was facing Southeastern Louisiana. What do you think made the biggest difference for him?
I just think he was probably closer to busting out than we figured he was. I remember talking to one scout, and he thought that the first time he saw him, and this was like in January of not this past year, but last year, he thought, okay, this guy's going to be a top 10 pick. And I didn't really see it. Honestly, I was like, okay, like, it's not like he throws 100 or something, and he's good breaking stuff, but it's not. I didn't see. I saw a very good curveball. I didn't know if I saw the best curveball I've ever seen. I didn't see William Schmidt on the mound. But I think what he saw and what we're seeing now is just the ability to have multiple different pitches, throw them off for strikes. And I think the addition of the extra breaking ball really, really helped him. where he kind of has now a dominant offering to get lefties out, something that can go away from lefties. And now he is. I mean, when you have two completely different arsenals for both sides of the plate, that really, really helped him. And I don't know. I just feel like him and his connection with the SD also obviously really, really helped. But that kid's got a lot of ability. He can spin the ball in a way that not a lot of people can, and that's kind of his superpower. That and his command, obviously. And if you can do those two things with a fastball that's just fast enough, he's going to be in pro baseball pretty soon. I mean, if he's in the major leagues next year, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Jay Johnson, either at this point. You talk to these guys a couple times a week after games and whatnot, and a lot has been made in the press conferences about their togetherness and their toughness and their how much they liked each other and assumed their roles. How much did that impress you, and is there any specific person or role that you enjoyed throughout the year?
That's a good question. I'd say, yeah, this team did feel a little bit more solid together, whatever you want to call it, than last year's team. And I think that, someone like Michael Braswell was just really, really impressive. I know he had a really good interview with you guys yesterday. But I think at one point toward the beginning of the year when he started to lose some playing time to Reeves, he said that he doesn't care if he starts, just flat out. And you don't really hear that a whole ton. And then combine that with just the way that he's sort of gone about the massive slump that he did during the postseason. It's just really, really impressive. And they had enough guys like that to sort of make up for the fact that they were in a situation where you'd figure there'd be a lot of personalities and agendas going into it, right? Because when you're adding so many players to the transfer portal and new incoming freshmen, you don't know what you're going to get. And that's what makes this team and this championship so impressive, is that they had all these guys who needed to learn what Jay Johnson wants, not just on the field but also off the field. And credit to Johnson. Maybe there's some luck involved in this as well, and the fact that none of that stuff that you'd figure would happen when it comes to those agendas happened. And I just find that's probably the most impressive part about this entire thing, where again, you would have figured that a couple dominoes would have fell in the wrong direction there when you're adding so many new pieces, but that just really wasn't the case.
As of Thanksgiving, I did not have a very good feel for the catcher spot, and Luis Hernandez just, in my opinion, turned in a really good year. What did you think of his performance over the course of the season?
Yeah, he was really good this season. And it's amazing how solid he was, despite the fact that he basically barely caught in college. And that was such a question mark heading into this season, that position. And it seemed like it was almost anyone's position. We thought Blaze Priester had a shot. We thought Kate Arambidi had a shot. We thought Kate Arambidi was going to be the person that they wanted to grow into the role eventually this season. And now he's just going to be the person for next year, it looks like. They needed someone to, give them sort of almost like a bridge year in a way, like a veteran who could do the job defensively. And he's just been rock solid. He's done a pretty good job with blocking balls. His framing seemingly got better as the year went along. LSU did a pretty good job of holding runners from a pitching standpoint, but his arm was good enough to where, it could sort of tamper down the running game a little bit. So, no, he was really good. But they just needed a solid defender back there who also, wasn't a total zero at the plate. And that's exactly what he gave them. And he also gave them some really, really big hits that when they absolutely needed them most. So, yeah, that was definitely an addition that worked. Even though he didn't hit 20-odd home runs like he did in Indiana State, that was unrealistic given the load that he was going to be asked for defensively. And even still, he came up with some big hits offensively.
No doubt. It looks like, based on today, that Jay Johnson, Josh Jordan, Nate Yeske, Mark Wanaka, and Jamie Tucko all back next year. How big a deal is the staff continuity that's kind of eluded Jay Johnson since he's been here?
That'd be pretty huge. And I'd add probably Chris Martin, the head strength coach, and Isaac Trujillo, the athletic trainer, into that as well. They've had a whirlwind of different strength coaches since Jay's come on board. I think they've had a different one every single season, at least the last 3 before heading into this year. But I mean, if they can get Martin to stay at least for a couple of years, that's big, because him and Trujillo did a really good job of keeping this team healthy this year. Because if you think about it, like, I guess Dickinson played through an injury, but like really they had 2 injuries. One was an off-season injury well before the season even started, and the other one was like a mystery injury that I think they had trouble even dissecting what it even was for a while there. But yeah, like, that's it though. Like, this team was remarkably healthy for the second year in a row, and obviously people should start knocking on wood right now as I say that. But I was kind of expecting at least a few more injuries this year because of how healthy they were last year too, and that just wasn't the case. And I think those guys have some credit to do with it. But to actually answer like the crux of your question, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely massive. Like, Josh Jordan is kind of the beating heartbeat of the recruiting side of this thing. Yes, there's obviously his value as an actual coach as well, but the recruiting side is just so massive to what this team does in terms of their success, whether it's in the portal or from a high school recruiting sense. One, obviously they've been extremely successful in the portal, but I mean, they have the number 1 recruiting class in the country heading into this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of these guys they're going to actually get? Like, I don't know. It's probably even more of a question mark than it was last season. But because there's a lot of guys in that recruiting class who could easily get picked, but there are also not a lot of like slam dunk Connor Griffins either. Yeah. So a lot of stuff in the air anyway. But like he's so critical to what they do. We already talked about Yeski, and then at the same time, like, as long as they have Jay Johnson, they're going to be fine. But if you want to like maximize your chances of winning the title next year, like, you need those other guys. So I feel like their staff is in just a really, really good spot right now.
Awesome job all year, especially up in Omaha. We'll do it one more time, kind of talking about the roster for next year. I didn't want to do that today because this is a day about celebrating these guys. But we'll chat one more time, and then we'll release you for the summer if that's all right with you.
That sounds good.
All right, Koki, we appreciate it. He's Koki Riley with The Advocate. Did an awesome job up in Omaha and really all year long covering the team. Gave us some time on Wednesdays. And he mentioned something there. This is just part of some of the advantages that LSU has, and it just dawned on me when he was talking there. I think Duke wanted Josh Jordan to be its head coach. And Duke has made 3 supers recently. They were in a super this year. They're in the ACC. And they could not hire LSU's recruiting coordinator away to be their head coach, really based on money. LSU is able to pay Josh Jordan enough to stay here and help assemble the roster that he couldn't go be an ACC head coach. Like, that's the difference here and at a couple other places. I'm sure that Mississippi State's made that kind of commitment now. I'm sure Texas can do that if they want. Arkansas can do that if they want. Tennessee's done a great job of keeping their staff together. They've had the same 3 guys really doing everything up there for the last 4 years for Donnie Vitello. So, I mean, like, Josh Elander at Tennessee is a rock star in the hitting front and the recruiting front, and no one's hired him yet. But that's part of the deal here, that you can offer things that most programs and universities and athletic departments aren't willing to do. And that's why you get a leg up here. Now, you got to go do it. Jay Johnson is not just winning national championships here because LSU's got a large budget, but it certainly helps win national championships, and Jay would admit that. And so that's just having Josh Jordan back for another year to talk some of these guys through the draft that he got committed and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a big deal, and it's a very, very advantageous place to coach, and that's just part of it. So let's come back and do some What If Wednesday. If you're in the Bayou 4 chat, fire some of those at us. We'll get some of the ones that I saw on Twitter as well. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, bathroom can be a hazardous place. We know that. Especially as folks age, can have falls, and they can be really bad situations. You can never take that risk away, but you can help mitigate against it. So if that dawns on you, you go, that may be something I want to look into. Just talk to David Vaughn and his team at One Bath and Closets. They've been doing this for 30 years. Non-slip floors, handrails around slippery areas, walk-in tubs, showers with benches. All that is something that they're happy to help you with. And if you're thinking about, payment, not what I'm looking for, well, they got payment plans available. 0% up to 18 months. Start with a free consultation. That part doesn't cost you a cent, and let David talk you through what they can do. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday shows brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com. Just get in touch with Joey Blanchard directly at 225-252-7745. That outdoor kitchen, especially that swimming pool. It's hot out there. Just think if you had a swimming pool in the backyard. You've always thought about it. Renaissance Homes and Pools has built them for dozens and dozens of folks throughout the Baton Rouge area for decades. They can help you with it as well. Built by Renaissance.com. All right, what if Wednesday?
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Alrighty, first one here. What if Jacob Mizorowski and Grant Taylor both played at LSU in 2023? What would the rotation look like? And what do you think LSU's record would have been?
Yeah, I think we did this one a couple of weeks ago.
I think so. Well, I think maybe a little bit longer than that. But
Mizorowski's lighting the league on
it's
fire
coming up
right
because
now.
Skeens is facing Mizorowski today.
Right. It had been good. It had been really good if you kept Shores healthy, throwing 98 at 6'9". They couldn't have been much better than they were. I think that team was 19-10 in SEC play with a rain out at South Carolina. I don't have any problem tacking 3 or 4 onto that. if you've got, instead of trotting guys out there on Sunday that you didn't really have a lot of trust in early in the SEC season, to throw Grant Taylor out there, I think that it's completely realistic to say if they played 29 SEC games, they could have gone 23-6 with those guys.
All right, next one here. What if Omaha was well known for broccoli instead of steak?
My dinner bills would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
And I love broccoli, but I don't know how good you can make it. I'd rather just have a big old hunk of beef. I probably would have had a steak with the famous broccoli if that were the case. But yeah, good beef up there at Omaha. I will say, because I gave a lot of places to go in Omaha, and I wrote a piece on LouisianaSports.net, which was somehow, I think, the highest read thing I wrote from Omaha was an LSU fan's guide to Omaha. I had a steakhouse that I did not list on there because I'd never been. We went to Omaha Prime in the old Market District after the championship game. It was great, a great meal at Omaha Prime. So file that one away, Tiger fans. You're gonna head back up there. It was literally 1 block from the team hotel, so good spot.
All right, next one here. What if the 2023 and 2025 LSU teams played a 3-game series?
So, hey, look, Anderson and Ianson are going to be tough on everybody, but Skeens is too. And I, as awesome as Cade was and as legendary as his efforts were, I'm still going to take Skeens and the 23 team over Anderson and the 25 team in game 1 of that series. Then you've got Floyd against Ianson, and now I think that's a real fair fight. I think that's going to be a really, really good baseball game. At that point, I am probably still going to favor the 23 team, because I just think that offense was better and more complete. You think about what LSU's offense did in the championship series against Coastal Carolina. They scored 1 run in the first game and only scored in 2 of the 9 innings, since they were the visitor team. 2 of the 9 innings the next day. They put a 4 spot up, which was great. But I favor the 23 team to win it. I would not be stunned if Anderson or Ianson got a win there, and then you could potentially go to game 3. And if you're giving me that's Case and Evans against some sort of Riley Cooper, Ackenhausen, Thatcher Hurd deal, it's game on, but I think the 23 team was better, and I would favor them to win 2 of the 3 games at least.
All right, let's do one more here. What if the Coastal coach hadn't got ejected?
I don't think that was going to matter. This is a good question. I know a couple of college baseball coaches, and I might be able to do some research on this in the offseason. Do we think when college baseball coaches or Major League Baseball managers get ejected that they're still calling the shots from the clubhouse?
That's what I was thinking. Like, we were all talking about, like, maybe he's got a walkie-talkie or something.
Yeah, go change pitchers. Like, I doubt that the NCAA is sending a rep back down there to make sure that you're sitting on your hands and being a good Boy Scout. Like, I think you just got to get out of the dugout, and then can we make some moves from the clubhouse?
Just think about it, because coaches already have walkie-talkies anyway, so it's not like they would have to pull it out from somewhere and start using it. Like, I'm sure they probably have a backup, like, walkie-talkie somewhere in the back of the clubhouse, and they can just go get it, and the coach can talk to them.
I mean, certainly coaches do a lot. You know how often Jay calls offensive timeouts and wants to do things, and you couldn't do that if you're ejected. I don't think it would have mattered for Coastal in that game, and maybe that's naive of me. I don't really know much about their coaching staff and how they do things just in terms of their process, but I do want to find out when coaches get ejected if they are quick to be able to communicate with the dugout.
All right,
I mean, Bobby Valentine's putting on a disguise and coming back in the dugout, which makes me believe that maybe at that point there wasn't a way to do it and you just needed to come in to get it done. But none of that these days.
All right, last one real quick. What if Arkansas forces Dave Van Horn? This doesn't seem realistic. They're not going to force Dave Van Horn. We're not going to do that one because that's not even... I mean, okay, I guess just for what if's sake, let's say what if Arkansas forces Dave Van Horn out and brings Tony Vitello to Fayetteville?
He'd do great there. I don't think he would make the move.
Yeah.
Now, Arkansas is interesting because they don't have a championship. So if you're looking at like Mississippi State or Texas or Florida, where they have one, and like whether he would leave Tennessee. But the thing with Vitello is they're building him the palace from Tennessee's perspective, and he's got NIL donors ready to go. Now, that may change in terms of the NIL thing because you can't just write blank checks anymore. You could, as of a month ago, just pay whatever you want to anybody. Now that stuff's got to be cleared over $600, but he's got the support and the infrastructure behind him at Tennessee. So Arkansas is an easier place to win, I think, but not significantly because he's got it rolling there at Tennessee, and Tennessee's got more good baseball players than Arkansas does, and they've got the NIL base to get it done. So I don't think he's ever leaving Tennessee, is my guess. I think you've got right now a deal where Tony Vitello, Jay Johnson,
Schlossnagle.
Yeah, he's a little bit older, but yeah. I think he has not been as prolific as those two guys. He's never won the title, but he's put together a lot of really good teams over time. So I think those three are really positioned very nicely at this point. And I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't put O'Sullivan and Corbin in that boat just yet, because this is a little bit of a different era than they were doing great things in. So I would still bet on Florida having a good baseball program. I think Tennessee was, I think Vanderbilt was a little bit smoke and mirrors this year. But I think that Vitello, Johnson, and Schlossnagle are probably the three with Van Horn that I would bet on over the next 5 years. So we'll see. That's it for What If Wednesday. We will step aside. We'll come back and a really special announcement that we'll make at the end. If you're looking for some commemorative things to talk about this 2025 National Championship squad, we got that for you next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Every single new purchase, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. All of them. Every single new purchase comes with a 3-year complimentary maintenance guarantee. And that comes with valet maintenance, meaning they'll come and get your vehicle. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Their own airline at Pico. If you're in the market for a new vehicle and you're here in Baton Rouge, you're probably going to be on airline. Just make one more stop right there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Chat with their brand ambassadors. Look at the phenomenal inventory that they've got on the lot. Make that purchase and see the difference that Genesis of Baton Rouge can make. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, and you can find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
like when we get to have this next conversation. Anytime we have Bob Ibeck on the show, that means something really good has happened here in Baton Rouge. We know that something very good did happen over the weekend. LSU, the national champions of college baseball, for the 8th time in program history. If you'd like to commemorate that occasion with something that means a lot to you and maybe somebody that you love, well, we got something for you. We welcome Bob Ibeck of Nyco Sports to the show. Bob, thanks for some time. How are you?
I'm doing great, but listening to you guys up here in the Chicago area, good show today. I really enjoyed the conversation and the comparisons between this team and the 23 team that you were doing. And I know my son was probably listening too. He's the assistant general manager with the Tampa Bay Rays, and he had some of his scouts out there at the in Omaha. He was telling me, he says, Dad, he says, there's going to be 4 or 5 kids in that team that are going to be big leaguers. And I know he was eyeing Chase Shores in that 6'8" frame, throwing 101 miles an hour. He's going to be a good pitcher, I believe, in Major League Baseball. And your fan base has got to be so excited. I know the Cup is going to be celebrating over at the school tonight at 7 o'clock, I think it is. And we wanted to go ahead and reach out to your listeners about a great opportunity to keep this memory alive for years to come. And I'm talking about a fully licensed baseball that celebrates the championship win over Coastal Carolina, a team that had come in to the tournament having won 26 consecutive games. Only 2,025 of these baseballs, which are fully licensed, you'll get a numbered certificate of authenticity, will be made. The baseballs are going to be put inside of a really nice, handsome acrylic display case with a gold base, priced at only $49.95. And again, with the low number, and I think coming into your show, we're well over halfway sold out. I think you need to act on this pretty soon because these will sell out as they did a couple of years ago. Before I give out that phone number and website, I want to point out that on various parts of the baseball, it will have the Tiger Eye logo there. Right across the sweet spot, it'll say 2025 National Champions, right next to the LSU logo. And then we have some Alex Box Stadium facts on another portion of the ball, a Tiger Head logo there. And it's a season to remember for sure, going through and having I think it was a 53-15 record for Coach Jay Johnson. And he's done a fantastic job. He's the first coach, I believe, to win 2 titles in his first 4 years as a head coach. And I think with the program the way it's set up, he'll be back in that hunt again for sure because the SEC has won the title 6 straight years and 11 of the last 16. And people who went out there and I've talked to them, they said, "Boy, what a sea of colors, purple and yellow all over the place out there. It's like Baton Rouge West." When they get to the stadium. So if you want to go ahead and order this, we have 2 ways. Again, these are only $49.95. You'll get the display case with it, a numbered certificate of authenticity, and only 2,025 will ever be made. So I know a lot of folks have been buying multiples and using them for, maybe a birthday gift idea or anniversary. Or one guy told me he bought 12 of them and is giving it out to his Little League team. So each one of the kids on the squad have something to look forward to and aspire maybe someday they'll be coming out to Nebraska and playing in that big event. Here's the phone number to call to get these. It's 800-345-2868. That's 800-345-2868, or just go right to the website. You can see the LSU baseball right there. It's beautiful with that gold base. NycoSports.com, NIKCOSports.com, NIKCOSports.com, or 800-345-2868. Do it soon because these will be gone. They're not being sold, anywhere in your area or at stores. It's exclusive to Nyco Sports, and it is a beautiful one. I've got the one from a couple of years ago, and certainly I have a man cave, not only with my stuff from my years with the Chicago Cubs, and also I covered the Baltimore Orioles as a sports writer in the 70s, but I got a whole corner of my man cave just devoted to LSU.
We love to hear that, and this is going to be an incredible opportunity if you want to jump on. Again, he mentioned his phone number, 800-345-2868, and NICOsports.com, NICOsports.com. Bob, always great to talk with you. We appreciate a little bit of time.
Listen, you guys have a great day and enjoy the rest of the week. And I'm sure we'll be talking, again sometime in the near future, whether it's football, basketball, and baseball. You guys have monster teams down there.
It's been a lot of fun. A lot of good things have happened here over the last 5 years, and we appreciate you all for being a part of it. Thanks for some time.
Okay. Have a good day now.
You too. That is Bob Iback with Nico Sports. Got a great opportunity there to buy something about $50. You can go ahead and put that in the man cave on the trophy case as a gift, wherever the case may be. Really good looking baseball there. So go check it out on the website, NICOsports.com. Got a great logo, and I'm excited to see the reveal of the LSU championship logo on the Intimidator tonight. I'm assuming they will do things tonight the way they did it 2 years ago, where they did not redo the Intimidator for this night. You can't do it in 2 days. They will put the logo of this championship team on the Intimidator tonight, and then it'll be remocked up and a new one will be revealed for next season. I don't know if that'll be for the fall of next year when they get it up, or if they want to do some sort of reveal on opening night, whatever the case may be. They've got to put a new fresh paint coat on that thing, because they've got another title, the second in 3 years. So a lot of opportunity to do cool things like that, and we appreciate Bob for giving us a little bit of time here on this Wednesday. That's it for hour number 1. When we come back, we got some things to talk about Saints-wise and some more LSU baseball to get to as well. We'll pause for our national headlines with Sports Center, come back with hour number 2. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools right here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.